it's Tamika Schilbe. Happy holidays, whether you celebrate an official holiday or not. Happy winter solstice and love from my home to your home and my heart to your heart. We are in a big transition right now. For the rest of December, it's really a time on the whole planet, no matter what we're celebrating or how we celebrate it. What we all have in common is that we're in a completion and on the precipice of a new beginning. We are completing whatever has happened in our lives. We're saying goodbye to that, all for the last year of 2016. A lot has happened on a global scale, but probably also personally. You've had triumphs, you've had successes, and you've had losses, and you've had surprises, and everything in between this past year. It's been a big year and will continue as things continue to be fast on the planet in this quickening that we're in this speeded up energy. But we all have this completion, and then we all have this new beginning on the horizon. It's so exciting. We're all in it together. And then what sometimes happens at this time of year is our schedules are so packed that we don't have time to think about where we've come and where we're going. And it's lovely, and it can be so nurturing to celebrate and engage in our traditions with our family and friends. And also, some people say that they hate this time of year because of all of that pressure to be involved and to be the most wonderful time of the year. So whatever you experience at this time of year, that's normal. There is nothing that we need to be because others are being it. There is no mood that we need to be or fabricate because it's what the rest of the culture is. This is such a great time to listen inside and feel what you feel. And even if your social calendar is super packed, to take some time every day, if possible, even 5 minutes out of your day to give back to yourself. A really wonderful practice at this time of year is review work. And it sounds like work, but even 1 hour, if you do 1 hour before the year is out to look through your day timer, let's say your calendar, and see what were you doing over this past year? What are some of the things that you have completed, some of the things that came up, maybe some of the unexpected things? And then you can really say, yeah, I've been living. I've been alive this year. Because you have, no matter what's gone on this past year, you have been alive and living. And that in itself is something to celebrate. Let's move into 2017, clear of tons of debris from last year. One of the ways you can do that is clear intolerances. Clearing intolerances means getting rid of psychological debris that may be weighting you down as you want to create new things in the new year. Intolerances are physical things, though. They can show up in your physical environment, they can show up in your online environment, and they can show up in your social environment. And more probably ways than that. An intolerance is something that you look at or think about, even on, let's say, a subconscious level. It passes through your awareness over and over again, and you think, well, that's not urgent or important, so you don't deal with it, you don't clean it up. And when intolerances build, they are like bricks, and they can create walls that prevent us from having the psychological or emotional clarity to create something new in our brains or to add new space, new possibility into our minds, and then therefore into our lives. So here's an example of an intolerance that I had at my home in Ontario. My toilet roll holder needed to be tightened up every few months or it would rattle around. And this may seem like a really silly example, but this is a classic example of an intolerance because obviously you're experiencing that every day, and the longer you just let it go because it seems like not a big deal, it still is registering in your mind. It's still creating a psychological groove, even if it's a very, very tiny one. But these are the kinds of things that build up over time. Another example of a intolerance might be like a little thing that you need to paint. Like, I'm not talking a whole room that needs painting. I'm talking about some little area of your home where you're like, I just need to touch that up. Or a painting that is off kilter and you walk by it and you're always straightening that painting out. Well, if you just adjusted something, you wouldn't have to do that every single time you walk by. And what would happen in your psyche if you just walked by and didn't have to do that all the time? Okay, so in and of themselves, these kinds of intolerances are kind of insignificant, but it's the buildup that creates psychological debris. For you, it might be that when you go into your email, you're like, I have so much old email, I need to clear out my old email. So do that this December. This is a prime time to be renewing and reviewing and getting rid of old stuff that you're finished with. It might be clearing off your desktop on your computer. That could be another intolerance. You might have some taxes that you need to clear up or a bill that you need to pay that's just sitting there. Well, you do realize that when you don't pay your bills, then other people aren't going to pay you. So that's kind of the karmic piece of that, is that when you tidy up that stuff and deal with that stuff, then also that energy comes back to you. If you can, okay? Another kind of intolerance is the interpersonal intolerances that we have in our communication. So I call this closing the loop in communication, in speaking our truth. When we close the loop, it means that there's someone that we meant to get back to that we didn't get back to. And when we do that, we close that loop. And a lot of people don't get back to others because they don't know what to say. And sometimes that is exactly the communication that needs to happen. Let's say someone asks you to do something that you don't have time to do right now. Getting back to that person and saying, hey, thanks for reaching out. I'd really like to help you with that, but right now I've got this, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Or it might be, thank you for the offer, for the opportunity, and right now isn't a great time, but I'm so appreciative, and I will keep you on my radar, and I just wanted you to know that I got your message. These are psychological intolerances as well that we can create in our interpersonal communication. So close the loop with people too, not just with the stuff in your house. Get back to people that are waiting for you to answer them. And that can be very empowering too. So if you're not closing the loop on those old relationships, how are you going to bring in something new? How are you going to meet new people and have new, fresh energy come into your life if you're not closing out those old ones? My friends who study astrology tell me that right now we are closing out a big cycle of karmic patterns, even over the last 9 years. So we're completing not just the last year, not just 2016, but something much bigger than that, the last 9 years of our lives. So even more reason to clean up as much as you can right now. Don't focus too much on forging ahead and new projects and new energy. You'll have visions coming in as always, but you don't have to act on those right now, because right now is about getting the old things done. And I also hear that once we get into 2017, that we're going to be moving fast. So let's be ready to move with those times, and there'll be a lot of more forward momentum once we get into January. So even more reason for us to clean up those intolerances. Thank you so much for joining me today and for tuning in. And do you have an intolerance in your life that you're planning to clean up in the next few weeks? And if so, what is it? Let us know. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Have a beautiful holiday season. Sending you so much love. Loops, they aren't completing those tasks because they are okay. We got a wanderer up there. Wonder if she's working on an intolerance up there. Yeah, that's gonna be a little distracting, isn't it? Jai. That is my little Jai latte.